Under the moonlight, you see a sight that almost stops your heart. You try to scream, but terror takes us out before you're naked. Yeah, you start to freeze as horror looks you right between the eyes. You're paralyzed, 'cause this is thriller, and no one's gonna save you from the beast that's about to strike. You know it's thriller, and fighting for your life inside a killer thriller tonight. You hear the door slam and realize that there's nowhere left to run. You feel the cold hands and wonder if you'll ever see the sun. You close your eyes and hope that this is just imagination, girl. But all the while, you hear a creature creeping up behind, and you're out of time. 'Cause this is thriller, there ain't no second chance to kiss a thing with 40 eyes, girl. You're fighting for your life inside a killer thriller tonight. Night creatures crawling, the dead start to walk in their masquerade. No, there's no escaping the jaws of this alien tonight. This is the end of your life. Come on. Thriller, 'cause I can thrill you more than any ghouls would ever dare try. So let me hold you tight and share a killer thriller tonight. Thriller, girl, I can thrill you more than any ghoul would ever dare try. So let me hold you tight inside a killer thriller tonight. I'm gonna thrill you tonight.
Darkness falls across the land. The midnight hour is close at hand. Creatures crawl in search of blood to terrorize y'all's neighborhood. And whosoever shall be found without the soul for getting down must stand and face the hounds of hell and rot inside a corpse's shell. The foulest stenches in the air, the funk of 40,000 years, and grisly ghouls from every tomb are closing in to seal your doom. And though you fight to stay alive, your body starts to shiver. For no mere mortal can resist the evil of the thriller.
Well, hello, chat. Welcome to October 31st, 2021. Welcome to the channel of Arvin Elleron. Welcome to Halloween. We are come to you upon this night of the eve in this year of our Lord to pay homage to the other side, the darkness, the things that go bump in the night, and if we're not careful, bump in the day as well. We look at them slant, to the side, in the bushes, in the alleyways, in the darkened corners of our room. This is a tribute to those feelings of coldness and doubt, spookiness and fear. And I hope all of you are prepared for the darkness that happens next. Why, hello. I hope all of you are doing well. Welcome. Welcome to Halloween 2021. Let me begin by thanking Brandon and the amazing crew, the incredible crew of strange friends, Yori, Valerie, and Mike, and of course Brandon as the GM. That was a lot of fun. I was glad I got to catch the second half of that. The first half of that I was out with my children. I was out with my son trick-or-treating, and then I was there giving out candy with my son trick-or-treating, and I was hanging out with my daughter as well. And yeah, we had a very pleasant and really fun Halloween. The weather was pretty good. There was a little bit of rain, but for the most part it was very nice. I still have my inflatable cat on the roof. I don't know if anybody saw it, but that I posted about it on Twitter, but I'm so proud of that cat. Thank you. I do my best. So we're all here, and I was really glad. My son had fun doing both of them, and so it was a lot of fun. And I don't really think I need to say anything other than the basics. Brandon really already covered them. Thank you to Brandon and company for that. Thank you to Shadowed Mage for the amazing emote, and of course thanks to my wonderful mods for being here. And welcome to a tradition which I think began 5 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, of our annual Halloween reading. Now, I've mentioned that I don't particularly like horror, but I do like spooky. I always have. I like the feel of sort of there's a kind of mysticism, I guess, kind of a shadowiness that doesn't really touch the aspect of fear, but I think it gives us an opportunity to contemplate aspects of existence that are a little bit, as I mentioned in my little fun opening slant, things that we don't perhaps see right on. And so this is an opportunity to do exactly that. So I will simply mention that if you haven't done so, please follow the channel, support us by supporting the Patreon, support us by supporting our merchandise, support us by checking out our Twitter, our Discord, our YouTube, support us as well by checking out some of the writing that I do, my Icarus graphic novel, my Tales and Tomes, the Forbidden Library 5e Adventure and Sourcebook, Grey Shade Kickstarter coming soon, and as always on this channel, !BLM, Black Lives Matter, and of course, because it is important to affirm and assert the significance and importance of Black lives, and !Help Now, which is the World Health Organization page on suicide prevention. Very important to reach out to others when you need help and to reach out to others when they need help as well. So if everyone can support that, that would be lovely. Also, I wanted to note that I saw Darkenwolf here, and yes, I know that Darkenwolf, this is one of the things you always make sure to stop by for, and I really love that. I hope that this will become a tradition. There's a lot of traditions that we have on this channel. I like traditions, I like milestones, and so I hope that you will continue to come for this and for other milestones as we go throughout the year. So tonight we have got 2 readings. I always do one of these readings, and that is Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven, and I will conclude with that tonight as I usually do. But I always do a different Edgar Allan Poe story. I have done in the past The Pit and the Pendulum, I have done The Cask of Amontillado, I did William Wilson, I believe, last year. I have done The Mask of the Red Death as well. And so today I'm going to do one that I have not read on as part of this before. And I should say that this is partially a result of our good friend Rock God, who gave us this information. I think this was, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Rock God, this was your suggestion, but the story that I have for this evening for you, besides The Raven, is The Telltale Heart. This was published in 1843. And I want to note, by the way, I'm going to have this little echo machine on the whole time, but I do want to note that Edgar Allan Poe is not only the father of the detective story, and not only the father, arguably, of horror and I can't say certainly others wrote Gothic as well, including Mary Shelley and many others, but I think Poe was a clear and obvious master of the form. Poe is a wonderful writer. He's not just he's a really, scary horror writer. Poe is one of the best short story writers ever to have written in English. That's how good he is. And he lived a very kind of sad life in a lot of ways, but man, could that guy write. And so it's always fun for me to read this, not just because it's so perfect for the season, but also because, man, it fits right in with writing is what I'm saying. So since we just got done with a very cathartic, for those of us who are writers, thematic kind of tabletop game, it's fun for me to be able to do something written by a spectacularly good author in Edgar Allan Poe. And so, chat, what I'd like you to do for this is I'd like you to sort of join me in becoming part of this, part of the experience. And what I'd like you to do is, if you are sitting in your rooms, I'd like you to turn down your lights. I'd like you to reduce the illumination around you. If you happen to have a blanket, if it's cool in your area of the world that you're watching this from, then maybe take a blanket and put it around your shoulders. If you have a little bit of tea or hot chocolate that you can put next to the computer monitor, please do that. If you've got a stuffed animal that you're particularly close to, you can hug it. If you have a dog or a cat or something nice and wonderful or soft and cuddly, you can definitely get that. If you have a significant other that you would like to spend time with while you're listening to this and just sort of holding them close, you can certainly do that as well. So join me, please, in being a part of this experience. And I'm going to ask here whether or not, chat, you are ready for the Telltale Heart. Give me some of your awesome Halloween emotes in Twitch chat if you are. Let me know if you're ready. All right, Arudinel is ready. Triffid has doused the lights. Shadowed Mage has turned off the lights. Triffid has got the spooky ghost going on. Anyone else? I see Golden Drake, I think, is ready, I believe, if I read those emotes properly. Mrs. Dunsel is all thumbs up. Okay. In that case, I think we're ready to go. And Rock God, before I start, was this your suggestion? And Blackberry Bear is ready too. Welcome, Blackberry Bear. Rock God, was this your suggestion? Was it the Telltale Heart? I couldn't remember if it was or not. I thought about doing Murders of the Rue Morgue too, Murders in the Rue Morgue, but I decided not to. I think this was better. I also thought about the Black Cat, but I can't. The Black Cat it's too brutal. It's such a brutal story that I was like, you know what? I'm so fond of my inflatable Black Cat that I just can't. I just can't. All right, Rock God may have stepped away. So anyway, at some point when Rock God comes back, I will thank him if this was his suggestion. I don't remember who it was that suggested it, but okay, here we go, chat. The Telltale Heart. Rock God, I was just asking, was that you that suggested the Telltale Heart? I was just asking. And Darken Wolf is ready too. It was you. Okay, good. Well, here you go, my friend. Ladies and gentlemen, I should rephrase that. People of the world. And I stopped myself because ladies, gentlemen, non-binary, gender fluid, arrow, ace, etc., etc. The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe. True. Nervous. Very, very dreadfully nervous. I had been and am. But why will you say that I am mad? The disease had sharpened my senses, not destroyed, not dulled them. Above all was the sense of hearing acute. I heard all things in the heaven and in the earth. I heard many things in hell. How then am I mad? Hearken, and observe how healthily, how calmly I can tell you the whole story. It is impossible to say how first the idea entered my brain, but once conceived, it haunted me day and night. Object, there was none. Passion, there was none. I loved the old man. He had never wronged me. He had never given me insult. For his gold I had no desire. I think it was his eye. Yes, it was this. He had the eye of a vulture, a pale blue eye with a film over it. Whenever it fell upon me, my blood ran cold, and so by degrees, very gradually, I made up my mind to take the life of the old man, and thus rid myself of the eye forever. Now this is the point. You fancy me mad. Madmen know nothing. But you should have seen me. You should have seen how wisely I proceeded, with what caution, with what foresight, with what dissimulation I went to work. I was never kinder to the old man than during the whole week before I killed him. And every night, about midnight, I turned the latch of his door and opened it, oh, so gently. And then, when I had made an opening sufficient for my head, I put in a dark lantern, all closed so that no light shone out, and then I thrust in my head. Oh, you would have laughed to see how cunningly I thrust it in. I moved it slowly, very, very slowly, so that I might not disturb the old man's sleep. It took me an hour to place my whole head within the opening so far that I could see him as he lay upon his bed. Would a madman have been so wise as this? And then, when my head was well in the room, I undid the lantern cautiously. Oh, so cautiously, for the hinges creaked. I undid it just so much that a single thin ray fell upon the vulture eye. And this I did for 7 long nights, every night, just at midnight. But I found the eye always closed, and so it was impossible to do the work, for it was not the old man who vexed me, but his evil eye. And every morning, when the day broke, I went boldly into the chamber and spoke courageously to him, calling him by name in a hearty tone and inquiring how he has passed the night. So you see, he would have been a very profound old man indeed to suspect that every night, just at 12, I looked in upon him while he slept. Upon the 8th night, I was more than usually cautious in opening the door. A watch's minute hand moves more quickly than did mine. Never before that night had I felt the extent of my own powers, of my sagacity. I could scarcely contain my feelings of triumph. To think that there I was, opening the door little by little, and he not even to dream of my secret deeds or thoughts. I fairly chuckled at the idea, and perhaps he heard me, for he moved on the bed suddenly, as if startled. Now you may think that I drew back, but no. His room was as black as pitch with a thick darkness, for the shutters were close fastened through fear of robbers, and so I knew that he could not see the opening of the door, and I kept pushing it on steadily. I had my head in and was about to open the lantern when my thumb slipped upon the tin fastening, and the old man sprang up in bed, crying out, "Who's there?" I kept quite still and said nothing. For a whole hour I did not move a muscle, and in the meantime I did not hear him lie down. He was still sitting up in the bed listening, just as I have done, night after night, hearkening to the death watches in the wall. Presently I heard a slight groan, and I knew it was the groan of mortal terror. It was not a groan of pain or of grief. Oh, no. It was the low, stifled sound that arises from the bottom of the soul when overcharged with awe. I knew the sound well. Many a night, just at midnight, when all the world slept, it has welled up from my own bosom, deepening with its dreadful echo the terrors that distracted me. I say I knew it well. I knew what the old man felt, and pitied him, although I chuckled at heart. I knew that he had been lying awake ever since the first slight noise when he had turned in the bed. His fears had been ever since growing upon him. He had been trying to fancy them causeless, but could not. He had been saying to himself, "It is nothing but the wind in the chimney. It is only a mouse crossing the floor." Or, "It is merely a cricket which has made a single chirp." Yes, he had been trying to comfort himself with these suppositions, but he had found all in vain. All in vain, because death, in approaching him, had stalked with his black shadow before him and enveloped the victim. And it was the mournful influence of the unperceived shadow that caused him to feel, although he neither saw nor heard, to feel the presence of my head within the room. When I had waited a long time, very patiently, without hearing him lie down, I resolved to open a very, very little crevice in the lantern. So I opened it. You cannot imagine how stealthily, until at length a single dim ray, like the thread of the spider, shot from out the crevice and fell full upon the vulture eye. It was open, wide, wide open, and I grew furious as I gazed upon it. I saw it with perfect distinctness, all a dull blue with a hideous veil over it that chilled the very marrow in my bones, but I could see nothing else of the old man's face or person, for I had directed the ray as if by instinct, precisely upon the damned spot. And have I not told you that what you mistake for madness is but over-acuteness of the senses? Now, I say, there came to my ears a low, dull, quick sound, such as a watch makes when enveloped in cotton. I knew that sound well, too. It was the beating of the old man's heart. It increased my fury, as the beating of a drum stimulates the soldier into courage. But even yet, I refrained and kept still. I scarcely breathed. I held the lantern motionless. I tried how steadily I could maintain the ray upon the eye. Meantime, the hellish tattoo of the heart increased. It grew quicker and louder every instant. The old man's terror must have been extreme. It grew louder, I say, louder every moment. Do you mark me well? I have told you that I am nervous, so I am. And now, at the dead hour of the night, amid the dreadful silence of that old house, so strange a noise as this excited me to uncontrollable terror. Yet, for some minutes longer, I refrained and stood still. But the beating grew louder. I thought the heart must burst. And now a new anxiety seized me. The sound would be heard by a neighbor. The old man's hour had come. With a loud yell, I threw open the lantern and leaped into the room. He shrieked once only. In an instant, I dragged him to the floor and pulled the heavy bed over him. I then smiled gaily to find the deed so far done. But But for many minutes the heart beat on with a muffled sound. Oh, this, however, did not vex me. It would not be heard through the wall. At length it ceased. The old man was dead. I removed the bed and examined the corpse. Yes, he was stone dead. I placed my hand upon the heart and held it there many minutes. There was no pulsation. He was stone dead. His eye would trouble me no more. If still you think me mad, you will think so no longer when I describe the wise precautions I took for the concealment of the body. The night waned, and I worked hastily, but in silence. First of all, I dismembered the corpse. I cut off the head and the arms and the legs. I then took up 3 planks from the flooring of the chamber and deposited all between the scantlings. I then replaced the boards so cleverly, so cunningly, that no human eye, not even his, could have detected anything wrong. There was nothing to wash out, no stain of any kind, no blood spot whatever. I had been too wary for that. A tub had caught all. When I had made an end of these labors, it was 4 o'clock, still dark as midnight. As the bells sounded the hour, there came a knocking at the street door. I went down to open it with a light heart, for what had I now to fear? There entered 3 men who introduced themselves with perfect suavity as officers of the police. A shriek had been heard by a neighbor during the night. Suspicion of foul play had been aroused. Information had been lodged at the police office, and they, the officers, had been deputed to search the premises. I smiled, for what had I to fear? I bade the gentleman welcome. The shriek, I said, was my own in a dream. The old man, I mentioned, was absent in the country. I took my visitors all over the house. I bade them search well. I led them at length to his chamber. I showed them his treasures, secure, undisturbed. In the enthusiasm of my confidence, I brought chairs into the room and desired them here to rest from their fatigues, while I myself, in the wild audacity of my perfect triumph, placed my own seat upon the very spot beneath which reposed the corpse of the victim. The officers were satisfied. My manner had convinced them. I was singularly at ease. They sat, and while I answered cheerily, they chatted of familiar things. But ere long I felt myself getting pale, and wished them gone. My head ached, and I fancied a ringing in my ears. But still they sat and still chatted. The ringing became more distinct. It continued and became more distinct. I talked more freely to get rid of the feeling, but it continued and gained definiteness, until at length I found that the noise was not within my ears. No doubt I now grew very pale, but I talked more fluently and with a heightened voice. Yet the sound increased, and what could I do? It was a low, dull, quick sound, much such a sound as a watch makes when enveloped in cotton. I gasped for breath, and yet the officers heard it not. I talked more quickly, more vehemently, but the noise steadily increased. I arose and argued about trifles in a high key and with violent gesticulations, but the noise steadily increased. Why would they not be gone? I paced the floor to and fro with heavy strides, as if excited to fury by the observations of the men, but the noise steadily increased. Oh God, what could I do? I foamed, I raved, I swore, I swung the chair upon which I had been sitting and grated it upon the boards, but the noise arose over all and continually increased. It grew louder, 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 and still the men chatted pleasantly and smiled. Was it possible they heard not? Almighty God, no, no, they heard, they suspected, they knew. They were making a mockery of my horror. This I thought, and this I think. But anything was better than this agony. Anything was more tolerable than this derision. I could bear those hypocritical smiles no longer. I felt that I must scream or die. And now, again, hark! Louder, 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 louder! Villains! I shrieked. Dissemble no more! I admit the deed. Tear up the planks. Here, here, it is the beating of his hideous heart. End scene. Oh man, he's so good at pace. He's so good at pace. Thank you, Critchwich. So good at pace. He's something else. He really is. Thank you, Golden Drink. Thank you. He's also very good to read. Like he's not very like easy, but he's the reading just flows. You know. Oh, thank you, Triffid. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, that's a good one. One of the things that Poe does beautifully well is understanding rhythm and cadence and being able to just kind of like measure it along that line. So I hope I did it justice for you, Rock God. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. My favorite is still Mask of the Red Death, but that's a good one though. Well, not sweet like Christmas candy, different kind of sweet, you know. Okay, folks, one more. And this one we do every year, and this, of course, is called The Raven, a very famous poem. And even though I am a Steelers fan, I still must acknowledge, and therefore the Baltimore Ravens are named after this poem. So were I not a Steelers fan, I probably would have had to have been a Ravens fan just because of that, but still, that's what we are here, so... Thank you, Shadow. No, that's it. And that's taken, by the way, that was taken from the, that is taken from postories.com. And this is all, of course, in the public domain. And this that I'm going to read is taken off of the page of the Poetry Foundation. So that's the deal. Yeah, they are named after the poem. Yeah, they are. Because Poe was from Baltimore, or spent much of his time there. In fact, the Edgar Allan Poe house is in Baltimore. I hesitate because Poe is in like 5 different places. I think he was born in Boston. He lived for a significant period of time in New York. He spent a lot of time in Philadelphia and also spent a lot of time in Baltimore. So there's a lot of cities that, and of course later on, even though he died in poverty and whatever, now the cities all want to lay claim to him, of course. So, but yeah. Okay. So here we go, Chad. Ladies and gentlemen, The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered, weak and weary, over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, "tapping at my chamber door. Only this, and nothing more." Ah, distinctly I remember, it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I had sought to borrow from my books surcease of sorrow, sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore, nameless here for evermore. and the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before, so that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door, some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This it is, and nothing more." Presently, my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," said I, "or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore. But the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping, tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you." Here I opened wide the door. Darkness there, and nothing more. Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there, wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, "Lenore." This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, "Lenore." Merely this, and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning, soon again I heard a tapping somewhat louder than before. "Surely," said I, "surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see then what thereat is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind, and nothing more." Open here I flung the shutter, when, with many a flirt and flutter, in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obeisance made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with mien of lord or lady perched above my chamber door, perched upon a bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, perched and sat, and nothing more. Then this ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore. "Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou," I said, "art sure no craven, ghastly grim and ancient raven, wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." Much I marveled this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore. For we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door, bird or beast upon the sculptured bust above his chamber door, with such name as Nevermore. But the raven, sitting lonely on the placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing farther then he uttered, not a feather then he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, "Other friends have flown before. On the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before." Then the bird said, "Nevermore." Startled at the stillness broken by reply so aptly spoken, "Doubtless," said I, "what it utters is its only stock and store, caught from some unhappy master, whom unmerciful disaster followed fast and followed faster, till his songs one burden bore, till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore, of never, nevermore." But the raven still beguiling all my fancy into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird and bust and door. Then, upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking, "Nevermore." This I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining on the cushion's velvet lining that the lamplight gloated o'er, but whose velvet violet lining with the lamplight gloating o'er she shall press, nevermore. Then, methought, the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer, swung by seraphim whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. "Wretch," I cried, "thy God hath lent thee, by these angels he hath sent thee, respite, and nepenthe from thy memories of Lenore. Quaff, oh quaff this kind nepenthe, and forget this lost Lenore." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." "Prophet," said I, "thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, whether tempter set, or whether tempest tossed thee here ashore, desolate yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." "Prophet," said I, "thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, by that heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden, if within the distant Aidenn it shall clasp a sainted maiden whom the angels name Lenore. Clasp a rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." "Be that word our sign of parting, bird or fiend?" I shrieked, upstarting. "Get thee back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of that lie thy soul hath spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken. Quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart, and take thy form from off my door." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting on the pallid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door. And his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming, and the lamplight o'er him streaming throws his shadow on the floor. And my soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted nevermore. The end. There you go, folks. Really, really great. And I want to say that one of the things, thank you, one of the things that these poems and these stories do, it's such wonderful writing. One of the things that this thing does, I think, is regardless of your feelings, and I don't want to get into this right now, but just regardless of your feelings of afterlife, no afterlife, however you feel about mortality one way or the other, I don't want to get into that now, but I just want to say that this sort of spooky season gives us a chance, and work like this gives us a chance to contemplate these aspects, and in a way, there is a great comfort in it. See, Miranda, I don't think, to me anyway, it's not depressing. It is, in a way, uplifting, because it gives you a sense of the sort of reaching an aspect of the veil, beyond the veil, right on the spot, right near the veil, and a sense that if the veil between the worlds is that thin, it gives us an opportunity to understand aspects of that world better. And I think that's something which Poe really does in his work. It's not just the gift of his work, it's also the gift of what he allows us to contemplate with it. And I think that's what's lovely about it, and it's one of the reasons that, as I say, I don't like horror, but I do like spooky. And you all know me, I don't like depressing either, but there's something that allows you to sort of reach it and feel near the darkness, but not be drawn into that darkness. And that's very special, and it's one reason why having the pleasant lights and warmth and comfort of people around you really helps you to understand that you are not a part of that darkness. And that's uplifting, I think. Thank you, Commander Dunsel. And these are always among my favorite streams. I always really appreciate having people come by and listen to it and getting a chance to read this wonderful work. Poe's richness of description, and especially his intensity of pacing, is something that everyone can learn from. I certainly have in my own work. And whether you're writing a novel or whether you're writing a short story or a poem, his understanding of pace and cadence is unmatched. I've said before that I really think no one understands pace and builds pace as well as Poe does, or better, I should say, than Poe does. There are probably some who do it equal to him, but I don't think there is anyone who ever did pacing and the building of pace better than Poe. And that is a measure of his genius that he's able to do that. So, and also, as I say, he didn't write just that. He also wrote adventure stories. He also wrote, as I said, the first detective story really is his. Murder stories, even obviously poems. Poe did a lot of work, and he was a fine, fine writer. And I am so blessed to have been able to share it with all of you after that awesome Shiver tabletop role-playing game that we had today. And that, chat, is going to be the case. Yeah, I know. If the Raven's name was actually Nevermore, which is just, or some guy somewhere was just like, make sure you tell him Nevermore, because Nevermore, that says a lot, does a whole bunch. So, yes, very much so. And I think that's very important. The existence beyond our understanding and a mystery that it is not necessarily horrifying to contemplate is very powerful. So, Secret of Evermore. I actually played that game back in the day, way back in the day. But chat, that is going to do it for us for tonight on our Halloween special, and I hope you enjoyed both the Shiver tabletop role-playing game and the reading of the Edgar Allan Poe work. I'm going to be back with you folks tomorrow, November 1st, Monday. Remember, it's going to be Monday, November 1st, not Tuesday this time, because I am teaching on Tuesday. My university has tomorrow off for All Saints' Day, so instead, Tuesday is a Monday schedule. It's the only time it happens this year, as far as I know. At least it's the only time that happens in the fall. And so Tuesday I'm going to be off, so that means we're going to have Monday instead. And so on Monday, just confirming that this is the case, Monday my plan is, now this has to be a little bit confirmed, but at the moment the plan is to be starting a little bit later on my stream and a little bit later on GOG.com's Twitch stream. So the plan is to go from 1 to 4 Eastern on my channel, and then from 5 to 8 Eastern on GOG.com's Twitch channel, and that's because this also happens to correspond with daylight saving time in Europe. And so America is a half hour still changed from Europe time. Next weekend we'll all be caught up again. So that means normally I would go to 4 to 7, this time I go to 5 to 8. But that 5 to 8 slot is still taking over another GOG streamer who kindly agreed to switch with me Monday to Tuesday. So I have to just confirm, but I'm pretty sure that it's going to be 5 to 8 on Monday, and that will be my 300th episode of Pen and Pixels, my long-running show on story and narrative on GOG.com's Twitch channel. So that's very exciting, and I hope you folks will be there for that. When I go live on my channel, I'm going to be playing more of Neverwinter Nights 2, Mask of the Betrayer. So Neverwinter Nights 2, Mask of the Betrayer, followed by some more awesomeness with GOG.com's Twitch channel, with Pen and Pixels, 300th episode, and Celasta. So that's what we've got going on. It's going to be a good times. Yes, I think you're right on that, Arudno. Yeah, I think you're right. Yes, well, and the other thing is, Rock God, when I read The Pit and the Pendulum, That to me is one of his best paced story of all time. Like Pit and the Pendulum is so freaking good for that same reason. So anyway, that's the schedule that we've got, and then I'll have the rest of the schedule. I'm actually going to be sending out some schedule suggestions after I get done with this stream. So that's what we've got going on next. And also, I think we are going to do a raid today because we had everyone here and it's not super late comparatively. So I'm going to take a look and see who we've got on the docket, and I see exactly who it is. I know exactly who we're going to raid, so you will want to stick around, and then I'm going to be heading over to raid this person, and you folks know the way about how to do the raid. If you are not a sub, you can do this, which is the Arvanauts Have Landed, Twitch raid, lowercase twitch, uppercase R, lowercase AID. If you are a sub, the Arvanauts Have Landed. But can I recommend that in addition to doing our usual Arvany smug and Arvany hype and all that, and Arvany roar, whatever, can I also recommend you put in some Halloween stuff? Like, I think we've got like, don't we have a pumpkin? Well, there's Feels Pumpkin Man. I didn't know we had that one actually. There's we got a jack-o'-lantern, just some Halloween-y stuff that you can throw in there when we head over to do this raid. I want to thank the amazing, and I've already talked about some stuff with the channel. I'm going to talk more tomorrow. We go back to promoting the channel and all that stuff, but for now, just want to let everyone know to follow the channel. Awesome, Dark and Wolf. I hope to see you again, and I'm glad you're able to visit it every year. But yes, for now, we are going to just remind everyone to follow the channel, check out our YouTube, our Discord, our Twitter, and the website arvanellarun.com. Support the shop, support the Patreon, subscribe to the channel, support my Icarus graphic novel, my Tales and Tomes in the Forbidden Library, adventure and sourcebook, and of course my Gray Shade Kickstarter. More information coming soon. And as always, Black Lives Matter, BLM, very important to affirm and assert the significance and importance of Black lives, and Help Now, which is the World Health Organization page on suicide prevention. Always important, no matter what kind of event we're doing, to reach out to others when they need help and to reach out to others when you need help as well. I want to thank my amazing mods tonight. Thank you so much to my mods, Rudinel, Rock God, Shadowed Mage, Rising Tides, and Trifity Mats. Being, as I've always said, as Brandon said, I always say, best in the business. I also want to, in particular, thank Shadowed Mage for the awesome work today with the overlay for Shiver and also with the Arcanus bot commands. Thank you, Shadowed. Thank you as well to the Rising Tides for doing a wonderful job in GMing Shiver. And thank you for being a big part of this channel. Thank you, as always, to my wonderful subscribers and Patreon supporters, Arudinel, Rock God, Shadow Mage, Rising Tides, Trifity Mets, Commander Dunsel, Configuration Queen, Mrs. Dunsel, and Prince Justin. Thank you. And thank you so much to my viewers, to Bulgaris, Bunny Rabbit Hole, Crit Twitch, Dark and Wolf, Dark Steel Spork, Darth Sisu, Elysian, Aranth, Fanny Fick, Gigafrost, Golden Drake. Thank you to Juan Cibidardo. Thank you to Kasano Diori. Thank you to Lana Ray. Thank you to Lily Red Wolf. Thank you to Marinda. Thank you to Nananja. Thank you to Nerdy Dreams, Nonstop, Poltergeist, Skagit, Spike Trap, V&K, and Yitzhak Rabin. And also, of course, because I don't want to forget them, thank you to the wonderful players of Shiver today. Thank you to Mike Underwood. Thank you to Valerie Valdez. And thank you to Yuri Casano. And one more time, thank you to Brandon O'Brien. Thanks most of all to all of you for being awesome. As we head out to outro, let me wish everybody a very, very happy Halloween, and I will see all of you tomorrow. Sweet dreams.
almost stops your heart. You try to scream, but terror takes us out before you make it. Yeah, you start to freeze as horror looks you right between the eyes. You're paralyzed, 'cause this is thriller night, and no one's gonna save you from the beast that's about to strike. You know it's thriller night, and fighting for your life inside a killer thriller tonight. You hear the door slam and realize that there's nowhere left to run. You feel the cold hands and wonder if you'll ever see the sun. You close your eyes and hope that this is just imagination, girl. But all the while, you hear a creature creeping up behind, and you're out of time. 'Cause this is thriller night. There ain't no second chance to kiss a thing with 40 eyes, girl. Thriller night. You're fighting for your life inside a killer thriller tonight. Night creatures crawling, the dead start to walk in their masquerade. No, there's no escaping the jaws of this alien tonight. This is the end of your life. Come on. Thriller night, 'cause I can thrill you more than any ghouls would ever dare try. Thriller night, so let me hold you tight and share a killer thriller tonight. Thriller night, girl, I can thrill you more than any ghoul would ever dare try. Thriller night, so let me hold you tight inside a killer thriller tonight. I'm gonna thrill you tonight.
Darkness falls across the land. The midnight hour is close at hand. Creatures crawl in search of blood to terrorize y'all's neighborhood. And whosoever shall be found without the soul for getting down must stand and face the hounds of hell and rot inside a corpse's shell. The foulest stenches in the air, the funk of 40,000 years, and grisly ghouls from every tomb are closing in to seal your doom. And though you fight to stay alive, your body starts to shake.